Greetings. Welcome to another broadcast of I Have a Testimony. I'm your host, Brother Willie Muhammad.
God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us.
He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.
Peace, brothers and sisters, and Ramadan Mubarak to those who are observing the holy month of Ramadan. Today we are blessed with another special guest. He's the editor-in-chief of the Final Call newspaper, our brother Naba'a Muhammad. I pray that I'm pronouncing that right. Here's a clip of him speaking about the sacrifices that black men made for this country.
You know, black men fought for the right to die in the Korean War. They wanted to show that they were men. World War II, Tuskegee Airmen, some of the finest, bravest pilots at a time when they said Negroes couldn't do nothing. And despite their obstacles, despite the racism they received, so here you are, you a black soldier, World War I or World War II. World War II, they got German prisoners who can ride in the front of the train, right, but you an American soldier and citizen, and you in the back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now who does that?
Right.
But a demon.
But a demon. Right.
So when we use certain terminology, brothers and sisters, I want you to just think a little bit deeply with me.
Yes, sir.
I don't want you to think that we're just hurling ugly words at people for no reason. I want you to think deeply with me and see if it makes sense.
And we're back, family. Assalamu alaikum, dear brother.
Wa alaikum salam, sir. Ramadan Kareem.
Ramadan. Man, we are exceedingly happy that you accepted the invitation, and we thank you for being our guest on this episode of I Have a Testimony. So I like to get straight to the interview real quick. And I have to start the interview off by first asking you this question. You know, there's so much we want to talk about, but I would like to begin by asking you to talk about this very historic moment for you during your tenure as a registered member of the Nation of Islam. And that moment is when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan bestowed a holy name upon you. Can you talk about the range of emotions you experienced, your thoughts, and when you were summoned into the room to hear the minister speak about how much he appreciates your work and his desire to give you a holy name?
Brother, that would have been February 20th, 2020, during our Magnificent Saviors Day convention in Detroit. I'm going to try to give you a short version of that story. It actually kind of starts to a degree. We were in Los Angeles. We had went out after the killing of Nipsey Hussle, and we had went out there. The minister eventually spoke at a commemoration for the passing of our brother. So I was blessed to be with the minister and some of the other student ministers, and he had given to several of the student ministers on the West Coast, he had given them holy names. And we were in the room, we were taking a photo, and so the minister said, okay, everybody come get in a picture. So I didn't get in the picture. So he said to me, brother, you don't want to get in the picture? I said, oh, brother minister, I thought you just wanted the brothers with the holy name. So everybody burst into laughter. And the minister said, brother, I have a name in mind for you. Oh, he said, I have a couple basically, and I'm thinking. So that was really gratifying. So now we're in Detroit, which, if you recall, Brother Willie, that was such a magnificent weekend. Thousands of people came out to hear the minister, and the lines were wrapped all around the convention center, and the spirit was so high. I was actually in my hotel room working on the paper, and I got a call actually from Brother Troy 5X, who said to me that I needed to get over to the meeting room immediately. And it sounded like he was saying to me, the minister's giving you a name, but you know, sometimes, brother, you hear stuff and you're trying to figure out, did I really hear what I heard? So at any rate, man, I rushed over. The brothers got me into the room very quickly, and kind of brought me down front. And when the minister had brother student Imam Sultan Rahman Muhammad repeat the name Naba'a Muhammad and then give what it meant, which essentially is related to giving news of great import, and in a sense being a publisher of that which is related to a great event. And I was really just overwhelmed because as Muslims, when we come into the nation and we write our Savior's letter, we write to the Savior, the great Mahdi, Master Farrakhan Muhammad. We say to him that we desire a name from him. And we also know that in Islam, a name is not just what you are called, but a name is also, it denotes something of your function. And so to me, that was really an incredible day. And to have such an honor, you know, bestowed on me. I mean, I was knocked out back in the day, Brother Willie, when I first registered, and I was Richard 3X and Muhammad Moss number 4 in Washington. Then when I was blessed to have Muhammad, I was even more knocked out. So now to go to this, being Brother Naba'a Muhammad, and I think it gave me an opportunity to think again about who I desired to be. But it's a beautiful name, beautiful gift. And I pray Allah that I will continue to try to live up to it.
Praise be to Allah. And it's interesting you mentioned about you coming in early in mosque number 4, and that's a good segue into our next question, because as we talked about prior to coming on, one of the benefits of doing this show for me personally is that I get the opportunity to hear the testimonies about how people came to accept Islam, and I'm honored that I have the opportunity and we can provide our audience with the opportunity to hear your unique story. So how did you come to know about the teachings and eventually accept?
So I was blessed, Brother Willie. My mother had me when she was 14 years old in Baltimore. So of course we grew up at that time. We grew up in the home of my grandmother and my grandfather. My mother was a very highly intelligent, very aware woman. So there was always a certain level of consciousness that I had growing up, even though we do foolish things, but there was always honestly, there was always just a deep love of Black people. There was just always a heart for the suffering of our people. And when you're growing up in the hood and when you're growing up, that's not necessarily an easy place to be. When you're living among the people who hate themselves and you're being taught that the more pain you can inflict on your people, the more powerful you are. So that's a pretty difficult struggle to come up with. So I was blessed to go to Morgan State University, graduate, and I was the first in my family to go straight from college straight from high school into college. This is around 1986. I graduated in May, and I had been working in DC on an internship for a couple of years before that. This is 1984, 1985, 1986. So, I mean, man, this is good times. Chocolate City, Black urban professionals. I got more money than I ever had. I'm hanging out with my boys from New York to to Fort Worth, Texas, and just, man, should have been the best times of my life for a young man who grew up with very little. It ended up, Brother Willie, being one of the most difficult. Because when I graduated and had my good government job, as we used to call it back in the day, as I was going downtown to work in Washington in my suit and my semi-private office and my professional career, and being promised that I would be successful doing the things that a young man would want to do. I mean, honestly, I grew more and more despondent because this was in the middle of the crack epidemic. Then there was so much danger, there was so much death, and nobody seemed to care, and I was really disturbed. About a year before that, I had said to myself, man, you're getting older, but you're not growing up. I was never a person who grew up in the church. I was never, quote unquote, into spirituality, but I longed for something deeper than what I was living. And on a Friday night, I happened to go by a little place on Georgia Avenue that's not there anymore, the Tape Connection and the Pyramid Bookstore. And Brother Jamil Muhammad was working. He sold me a tape, The Making of the Devil. This was a cassette tape, so that tells you how long ago that was. I went home, I listened to that tape that night with my little date. I went back and sat at the Tape Connection for 8 hours and watched a videotape that Saturday. I went to the mosque that Sunday, accepted Islam, and I just started on this path.
Beautiful, man. And before we go into our break, man, that the power of those lectures, man, and how just hearing the minister can just transform our lives. And I want to get this question in before, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, during one of the historic lectures he delivered, The Pathology of Hypocrisy, he spoke about his love for and the pain he experienced due to the loss of Brother Wali Muhammad. May Allah be pleased with him. Who also served as a mentor to you. So can you take a moment to talk about the impact he had on your life and any lessons you learned from him that helps you in the position you're in today?
Well, definitely. You have to let me know, brother, how much time I have, because I could go on forever about this.
Okay. And what we'll do, if we run into the break, we'll stop and then you can pick up after we come back. But go ahead.
So, man, Brother Wali Muhammad, or Brother Wali as we knew him, man, I'm the big brother in my family. I never had a big brother. But Wali was like a big brother to me. He offered me the opportunity. First, I was kind of contributing to the final call. Then he offered me the opportunity to come on and work part-time. Then he offered me to come on and to be a staff writer and leave my good government job, which was a whole interesting experience in and of itself. But Wali was so committed. I mean, at this time, the final call was really an intermittent journal. We didn't have a regular publication schedule. But there were certain things that he taught me. He taught me you have to be committed to what you do. He taught me you have to be excellent in the pursuit of what you do. And he taught me that you should not allow anyone to outwork you. And so those great lessons, and his love and faith in the minister, and his willingness to be used by the minister, his strong defense of the minister. His father was actually Simeon Booker, the great journalist who chronicled the civil rights movement. So Brother Wali, we could say, had a pedigree coming out of Washington, D.C. But there was nothing, brother, that made him more prouder than to be able to say he did not hold 1 degree from the institutions of this world. He was proud to say that. And he was proud to say that he used his gifts in the service of the minister and our people.
Wow. Beautiful, man. Beautiful. And may Allah be pleased with him. We thank him for everything that he's done. You wrapped it up right before our break. So for those who are here, we're here with our brother Naba'a Muhammad. He's the chief and editor of the chief editor, right? I'm pronouncing it right, of the Final Call. Editor-in-chief, I apologize, of the Final Call newspaper. But we'll be back to hear more of this testimony from our brother. Y'all stay tuned.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps us to highlight solutions for a brighter tomorrow. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
AsiaticMinds.com, the curriculum of study from the University of God's Mind. Education that enhances the quality of learning through a virtual school system. The science of mathematics, communication, and deductive reasoning. Our children are the future. Invest in your destiny. To enroll now, visit AsiaticMinds.com.
The hashtag Bank Black social media campaign made strides not only in revolutionizing how we bank, but also how we think. The movement inspired thousands of African Americans across the country to transfer or deposit millions of dollars into Black-owned banks. These are banks that will invest in urban communities, employ African Americans, support Black businesses, and inspire Black home ownership. This is a very proud moment for our culture as we are taking small, but significant, steps towards building Black power through Black wealth.
Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel at National Network View. I am Anissa Muhammad with nnvnews.com.
And we're back, brothers and sisters, to hear more of this dynamic testimony of our brother Naba'a Muhammad, which I see one of the guests are already saying how they never knew your story and they thank you for sharing. And I do as well. So my next question, while we're on the topic of final call editors, as you just closed out, how did you end up becoming the actual editor of this powerful independent Black newspaper?
Well, of course, as I said, I went to school at Morgan State University, majored in journalism and English and journalism. I had a couple internships before that. Once I came into the nation, eventually I started working under Brother Wali, who was the editor-in-chief, and Brother James G. Muhammad, who was actually his managing editor. Started working under them. I opened our office in Washington, D.C. as East Coast correspondent with the unfortunate death of Brother Wali. I think it was 1991. I eventually came to Chicago to assist Brother James and as his managing editor, and I worked for many years under Brother James, and that was really, I just have to say that one of the joys of my life was really to serve him. And to protect him in every aspect of his role as editor and as my brother. I came to Chicago after the death of Brother Wali, and I was determined that nothing was going to happen to Brother James, period, in no way, shape, or form. And so I focused on helping him, serving him, protecting him, and he served as a great editor, and he still to this day is a contributing editor, and he literally works on the paper in some capacity almost every week, so he remains a critical part of our operation. Eventually, after working for the paper for some years, I had a few children and decided I needed to kind of make a little more money. Left the final call and did some work in the nonprofit arena, communications. After that, I started my own media consulting company, which was actually pretty successful. In 2007, I believe, when they said the minister was speaking in Detroit, and what would be, they were saying at that point, they were saying at that point that would be his last lecture, so they said. And I ended up going to Detroit. And when I got back, I actually was doing my own online publication called Straight Words Easy. And I was also writing for the Chicago Defender, which was daily then. So I had written a piece for the Defender. I written my own piece, published it online. What eventually happened was Brother Abdul Arif Muhammad, editor-in-chief at that time. He eventually, some of the staff reached out to me because they needed some help. I came on, I gave them what I'd written over the weekend. Between him and Brother Abdul Rasul Muhammad, actually, to be honest, Brother Abdul Rasul, formerly Brother Fontaine, who of course we worked together for many years at the Final Call, said to Brother Arf, just get him in the building. And if you get him in the building, you got him. Get him to commit to doing one thing, one page, one paragraph, one sentence, whatever, and you got him. And so that's essentially what happened. I basically, brother, abandoned my whole business entity, which was going pretty good. And I started working under Brother R as kind of a consulting editor. At a certain point, he went on like a little bit of sabbatical. He recommended me to the minister to serve as editor. And that's pretty much how it happened. It's been, I guess, 13, 14 years now. It's really, that in itself is an incredible story, because there's no way that I could have done anything to make this thing happen in terms of becoming editor. I've always enjoyed serving under those who I've served under. I mean, I've always enjoyed that, Brother Willie, back in the day, when I used to play a little basketball, I played point guard, but I played the old school point guard. And I like the ones today that's dropping 40, 50 points. But the one that took on the toughest assignments defensively, the one who directed the game, and the one who facilitated the success of other people. And so serving under these great editors, Brother Wali, Brother James, Brother Arif, it was my duty to execute what they wanted and to move the paper forward and to just make sure that we were successful. And so that level of service, really, that level of service and attention to what the minister needed, but not just what the minister needed, but what the man that the minister put in a particular position needed. The question for me was always, what does that man that the minister has put in that position need? And what can I do to help that man put in position by the minister to be successful?
Man, that is a beautiful spirit to have, my brother. And most people who have that type of thinking end up being in positions of leadership. And we thank you for your service, and we thank you for your sacrifice and all that you're doing to make sure that we have this paper independent, news source and media source, which is more than a paper during these times. And with that, I want to lead into these next two questions. And would like to just hear the backstories of these two images. He's going to show one, when I get to each question. But, the first one is a meeting that took place between the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and your mother, who you mentioned before. How did this meeting take place? And, what was the impact of this meeting on your mother?
Oh, brother. I mean, my mother, Brother Willie, I registered in the nation, and I came in the nation in 1986. As I said, my mother had always been very very conscious, strong woman that raised 4 children basically by herself. My mother stood registered in the Nation of Islam after I registered. So she would attend the mosque in D.C. She registered at the mosque in Baltimore. My mother, this particular meeting, somehow or another, she had decided she was coming to Chicago. And the next thing I knew, she was in Chicago. My secretary had picked her up from the airport. And I honestly don't remember. I think this may have been after a Sunday meeting, but I don't remember the exact moment. But it was an incredible moment for my mother to meet the minister. My mother and I had always been close. But there was something, because I'm the oldest. So again, she had me when she was 14. So she said that we grew up together, in a sense. We were always close. I always respected her. I always wanted to make sure that she was okay. I never wanted to cause her trouble. But there was something deeper about our relationship after I came into the nation. I can honestly say it was as if I was doing that which she had brought me into the world to do, honestly. She loved the minister. And it was so beautiful for me to see these 2 people that had meant so much to my life, the woman who had given me physical life and who had been so responsible for so much of my development and the person that I became. And then this man who by Allah's grace gave me the great spiritual life and led me into my life's purpose. It is one of the most incredible moments. Also, if you look in a picture, one of them also has my 2 youngest daughters who are now older now. But it was an incredible moment. My mother has passed now. I think we're going into the 12th year. But one of the final things she posted on her Facebook page literally was basically, son, I'm proud of you. Keep helping the minister. And I think sometimes people misunderstand us when we have these very deep, deep emotions and loyalty about this man and his service and his sincerity. And sometimes our people in their ignorance, they mistake it for worship, but they are incredibly wrong. But if you have someone who has impacted your life, shouldn't you salute them? Shouldn't you love them? Shouldn't you honor them? And lastly, I'll say for me, it is not just what the minister's done for my life personally. It's a whole ton of things. But this man has been serving our people longer than I've been alive. Shouldn't he be loved? Shouldn't he be respected? Shouldn't we who know the truth of who he is, shouldn't we tell the truth? Shouldn't we defend him? Should he be left to defend himself among enemies, and he only has enemies because he loves us? They hate him because he loves us, and they want to destroy us. They hate him because he is stopping them by Allah's grace from destroying us. So we have an obligation, I think, to just tell the truth. And the truth is sufficient as a witness to this man and his work.
Beautiful, brother. Beautiful. And those words sent chills down my body in regards to the enemies that he have is because of his love and his love and his effort to resurrect us. So, you know, we definitely should stand up and defend him against the enemies that he's made on our behalf.
Come on, man. Come on.
And a beautiful testimony about your mother. And when we be back, we're coming up on our next break, but we'll be back. And there's another question I want to ask our brother about a picture that I came across on his Facebook page as well. But thank you all for tuning in, and we'll be right back with more of this interview with our brother. Peace.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.
AsiaticMinds.com, the curriculum of study from the University of God's Mind. Education that enhances the quality of learning through a virtual school system. The science of mathematics, communication, and deductive reasoning. Our children are the future. Invest in your destiny. To enroll now, visit AsiaticMinds.com.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Thank you for tuning in to NNV News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, National Network View. This is Clifton Muhammad with NNVnews.com.
Muhammad's economic blueprint, the collective power of our dollars to build a future for ourselves. With 5 cents a day, 35 cents a week, $1.40 a month, and $18.20 a year multiplied by 16 million wage earners would give us $291 million in 1 year. Everyone can give 35 cents a week as an investment in our future. Donate now and see what our pennies, nickels, and dimes can accomplish. Visit economicblueprint.org.
And we're back, brothers and sisters, who continue this next half of our interview. And the second question I want to ask you, my brother, this is a picture. It looks like either you are heading into surgery or you're being transitioned to your room after surgery. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is greeting you there and kissing you on your forehead. And you have that big Kool-Aid smile of joy in your face. I can see it. Can you talk about this moment, how it came about, and even just the impact it has on you?
Yes, sir, brother. That was about, that will be 5 years ago this summer, by Allah's grace. I was headed into surgery for prostate cancer. When I was diagnosed, I'll try to keep it simple. Talked to the minister. I was not happy necessarily with the doctors and their treatment of me when I was initially diagnosed. Talked to the minister. He gave me his doctor because, the minister is a prostate cancer survivor who happens to be a very brilliant, talented black man by the name of Kerry Ransom out of Indiana, a great healer in the truest sense of the word. The minister gave me his doctor. The minister made sure that everything went well and made sure that I made my treatments. And he came that morning. And he came, and some of the brothers came with him. I think Brother Leonard Farrakhan Muhammad came with him. And he was really just there to reassure me, to support me. And it was really something. And he promised me that, that I would be looked after. And he did all of that. I told the minister, he actually came back that same day at the end, later in the day. It was him and Mother Farrakhan, I think maybe a couple of his children. I think Sister Karima, who serves Mother Farrakhan, was there. And they came back and we had a conversation. Some people think it was on the drugs because I was asking the minister different questions, but it was so touching, brother, to have this man attend so personally to me. And there's a level of deep appreciation that I have for his personal care of me because I grew up without a father. And so in many ways, the minister has absolutely been that father figure. He's absolutely furthered my development. He's absolutely made me a a good father. I would say even a great father to my 6 children. It was just, I talked to the minister also about my experience in the hospital and how well I was treated. And he said, brother, Allah put angels around. So when we strive to serve Allah's servant, and we strive to work in this cause, and we keep working in this cause, and we keep striving in this cause, and we keep struggling against self, and we keep struggling against this world, Allah blesses us, and to have the favor of Allah, and to have the direct hand of His divine servant is a special blessing for me. But I always, Brother Willie, honestly, there's an element to me that I always, I don't know if I can explain this right. I always try to appreciate the minister so much more than what he did for me, does for me personally, even though that's vitally important to my life. How can you have a great man look after you and that not mean so much to you? But his personal care for me is only indicative of the personal care he would administer to all 40 million of our people if he could administer to them one by one. This is how he feels. So those of us who know him, who have been touched by him, it is our duty to take him to our people, to touch them as he would touch them, if he could touch each of them individually. So we become his representatives. We become his helpers. But that was an incredible day. And I thank Allah. The minister made sure that I was well cared for after I came out of surgery. In a major way.
We thank you for sharing that testimony, man, because it really helps those who will hear it to get a greater view and understanding of the type of heart of the man that we have here in our midst. And that leads me to, we're talking about, your work with the final call. And I want to ask you this question. From your perspective, how significant has the final call, how significant is the final call, has been and is the final call to the liberation of Black people in America?
The final call is an essential tool. And I really hope that all of us understand. And you can't have an essential tool unless that tool is free and independent. And so the mighty work of the brothers who have been outstanding in this pandemic, the FOI has been outstanding in their distribution of the final call the last 2 years, regardless to whom or what. They are to be applauded, man. They are to be uplifted. They are to be saluted for being the soldiers that they have been and taking this word to our people. And we cannot be fully free if we allow advertisers, outside influences, to influence us. So we don't have any outside influences in the final call, no ads. But, I've heard the minister at a point talk about what good is the truth if there's no one to tell it, and what good is the truth if there's no way to get it to people. So the final call, both the digital form, but in particular that print newspaper, this is a tool in the resurrection of our people. And we should never misunderstand or disconnect that fundamental mission with the fundamental tool. That newspaper allows all of us to start a conversation with anyone at any time. It's a conversation starter. It's a key to start to unlock a door. It is an opening through which we can walk through and engage people. It allows us to stand out. And even if the people say no to us every day, there's a level of admiration when we stand strong every day. There's a level of admiration when we stand regularly and they can count on seeing us. And they do count on seeing us. And those of us who have been with the paper have often heard people say they didn't buy the paper but saw us. If they didn't see us, When we came back, they said, man, I'm glad to see you. You want the paper? Oh, no, thank you. But there's a reassurance. There's a presence. There's a symbolic representation of what a black man can be. Clean, strong, ready to handle the affairs of today, of the day. Standing for purpose in a world that doesn't want black men and women to have any purpose at all. And so you have information that bears witness to the time. Serious information, not foolishness, not stuff that will put our people to sleep, but stuff that will wake them up in a time of danger, in a time of trouble. Then you have the divine words of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You have the divine words of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And in the privacy of my house, my home, my car, my office, sitting on a park bench, I can look at that paper, I can read that paper, and I can have the opportunity to soak in some of the great supreme wisdom of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But I've also been touched generally by one of these men of Muhammad that thought enough of me to offer me the truth. And so the final call is that tool intimately connected with the resurrection of our people. So other newspapers are shutting down. Good. But it may just be the final call. Good. This means that we will be easily identifiable among our people as those who have come not just to give them information, but those who have come to give them the opportunity to be fully resurrected into a new way of life, into an entirely new reality that Allah God himself is bringing in and wants us to enjoy.
Beautiful, beautiful. I want to get this last question in before our next break, but you know, and some people have posted some questions in the comment section, and you just really just answered them in that last response. So that's Allah's working. But my question I want to ask is, you know, the advent of the internet has revolutionized the way that people consume information. So how is the Final Call and the Final Call staff working to adapt to this powerful change that is taking place in the world as it relates to media?
Oh, brother, it is absolutely one that we are still working on and still struggling with. Of course, we have revamped the website over the last 2 years. Of course, we have our social media presence. All of that can be enhanced. So all of you young people out there, what you waiting for? Where are you? You hiding? Are you afraid? You mean to tell me in the 21st century you don't want to stand up and help me and help the Final Call and help our minister? We need help. We're working. And there are ways to touch people. The beautiful thing is that we can literally now touch people all around the world. All around the world. This message can go all around the world. So I think we are doing an acceptable job, but we're striving harder to do more. And in particular, for you young people out here, I don't know what you're waiting on. I hope you're not scared today. You better come on, and if you got some writing, video skills, you better come on and join on to this great institution and build it. If you don't help me build this, I'm not planning on thinking too kindly of you, but you come on and be great. Big fields await the wide awake man and woman, and we mean men and women. So come on and let's get this work done.
Man, great. And you, for those who are watching, who will watch this video, we're going to make a clip of that. And I love what brother said. Those who are watching, you have your skill set. The young people, you heard the call, so you can't say nobody and offer the opportunity. What are you going to do? And so we're coming upon our last break, and we're going to be back to hear more from this mighty servant and testifier and helper and supporter of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and our nation. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.
And we're back, brothers and sisters. And I want to go directly to this next question. Brother Naba'a, what guidance has the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan given to you as the editor of the Final Call newspaper, editor-in-chief?
I would say, Brother Willie, the fundamental mission, point of guidance he's given me, is to seek the truth, uncover the truth, be willing to expose the truth. He has stressed that the final call must be like a watchman on the wall. We must be looking out for that which will be of danger to our people, and we must warn them in this very, very critical hour. And I think that's the fundamentals. We strive to, and we have worked, brother. This is not an easy work. This is not an easy work, but we have worked for years, and so many people have worked for years to bring us to this point. And Brother Wali Muhammad, I say, paid the ultimate price. So we are always striving to get better at what we do. For many years, I used to say to the minister when I was blessed to talk to him, essentially almost once a week, we are trying to get a little bit better every week. But find the truth, expose the truth, tell the truth. Don't fear the censure of any censurer, and be bold, but be accurate, be fair, be honest, no cheap shots, no personal attacks. Because I'm telling you, Brother Willie, and my writing to defend him, there's been times when he's had to correct me before it went out, because I despise when people attack him. And it brings up a spirit in me that wants to literally, journalistically, intellectually, destroy these people. You're trying to destroy the man that I love and a man that loves our people, and you're doing it on the base of a lie. You expect me to be happy with that and give you flowers? No, we hurl in truth and falsehood till it knocks out the brains. But as my minister taught me, you just can't engage in personal attacks and insults and get down in the gutter. So he's helped me be better in my defense of him. But that's one aspect of what I do that I love, because, man, man, enough is enough, brother. And I'm a stop because I'm going too long. But
No,
to me,
go ahead.
enough is enough is enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
Since 2018, this man has been attacked literally, Brother Willie, at least every single day. I'm telling you, in one way or another, someone, enough is enough. So let's rise and defend him and send the devils into hell.
Man, and I feel it in your spirit, my brother. And that's how I know that you have love for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I feel it in your spirit and hear it in your words when you talk. And that's the spirit that we all need to have, because if it were not for this man, we would not be here. And we all need to have that spirit. And like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, nobody has to give you permission to defend your mother if somebody insults her or disrespects her. All he asks is just like you said, that we do it in a way that with integrity and we don't get down in the mud. So thank you for your passion, my brother. And I'm glad that you are on our side. Let me get to this next question, because inshallah, on this coming Wednesday, April the 27th at 6 p.m., which is Central Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, NNV will host a special broadcast that will be focusing on the great work that was done by the members of the Nation of Islam in the Mayfair Mansions apartments in DC, which you came in. You were there during that time, and Sister Beverly speaks so high of you, and you are mentioned in her husband's book. But in addition to that, you wrote a book, and from my understanding, it was the first book that was written about this historic event, right? You wrote a book, and you were also there. You were also a participant. What inspired you to write the book about this, what we did in the Mayfair Mansions and what you witnessed?
Well, the book is called Dope Busters, Farrakhan fanatics or saviors. The true story of the DC crack cocaine crisis and successful Muslim anti-drug patrols. You can get that at straightwords.com. You can contact me for a copy of the book. Essentially, Brother Willie, our mosque was down the street from Mayfair Mansions, which was one of the most. This is in 1988. In the heyday, the crisis of the crack cocaine epidemic, violence everywhere. Essentially, we came through the housing project one Saturday with the final call. All of the negative activity dispersed. The residents came to the mosque after that, asked us if we would come in and help to bring them peace. We started a patrol under Brother Abdul Sharif Muhammad was our captain. Brother Abdul Ali Muhammad was our minister. Brother Timothy, of course, was our first officer at the time. We started that Monday patrol. A camera crew showed up. Actually, Joe Johns, who's now with CNN, was with NBC at the time. The camera crew captured this interaction between someone who pulled out a sawed-off shotgun on unarmed Muslims in his patrol. Well, let's just say that the Muslims dispensed with him. Big Brother Ronald, who's one of the gentlest giants you would ever hope to meet, picked him up, body slammed him. The FOI kind of went to work on him. He went to the aggressor with the sawed-off shotgun. There was another brother there who had kind of a machete. Both of them went to the hospital and they came out. That image was blasted literally all around the world, and it gave hope to our people. One, that somebody could stand, and there's a verse in the Holy Quran that essentially talks about that if we did not raise some men to oppose others, that basically oppression would overwhelm the earth. So this was the Muslims in action. This was the FOI bringing peace. This was us acting in ways, and it was all motivated by the love of the minister and our love of one another. It was motivated by the great training of our FOI class, the great teaching of our minister, our great love for the minister, of our local minister, Abdul Ali Muhammad, and the love that we wanted to display to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and help him in his work. So basically, from that instance came a broader effort to stop violence, and eventually individual security companies were formed that went to housing projects around the country and brought peace. But not only that, Brother Willie, but Mayfair Mansions apartment and Paradise Manor, which is next door, they enjoyed a multi-million-dollar renovation and reinvestment as a result of this work by those taught, trained, and inspired by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. If you go back, I believe it's in 1995, that effort was attacked and destroyed by the American Jewish Committee, DL, Congressman Peter King, who literally brought these Muslims, private security owners, before Congress for a hearing. And in the hearing, it was exposed that the Muslims had done a great job. These demons in Congress. And if you get a chance to go, look at it, because I want you to see Brother Leonard Farrakhan Muhammad. I want you to see Brother Abdul Arif Muhammad. And I want you to see how black men should talk to white men as men. But essentially, my point is, despite the good work, despite the saving lives, despite the economic impact positively, our enemies did not care. And they forced local public housing authorities around the country to suspend contracts for people that were doing the job, because the local public housing authorities could not survive without federal funding. And so our people were left to suffer once again. We got enemies and we need understanding.
That's right. And all from these people who are at the same time saying that they are our friends, and while their community doesn't suffer from what our community still suffers from today, they intervene. And that's crazy. And we talked about that today during the lecture, but that's crazy, man. And so what we want to do as we get ready to close, I want to ask you this question, because the title of this show is I Have a Testimony, and it's inspired by that scripture that says, by the blood of the Lamb and the power of their testimony, the dragon was defeated. And, you know, when the minister said that, how when he wrote George Bush the first time in the letter, Junior, he said he was writing from a prison, right? And he said a prison of propaganda. So I asked this question so that those who see these interviews can help to see the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan outside of or beyond this false narrative that the media paints him and us with. So my question to you is, if you had the opportunity to stand before the world and testify of a quality of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, what quality of him would you testify of before the world?
If I had to choose one, Brother Willie, I would choose sincerity, right? Because we can do many things for many motivations. We can even do good from the wrong motivation. We can act well if we want to get something. We can move in certain ways if we want to influence people. But when a man has a sincere and pure heart, you will be able to draw a line in his scope of activity. And when you draw that line, you will see a consistency in how he acts, even when he suffers, because he does good for others. The sincerity of Minister Farrakhan. All of our people who he has defended, many of whom turned against him after he defended them. Many of whom, and he still will not attack them. He still is careful of what he says about them. He still tells those of us who love him to kind of leave them alone, in terms of some of the things we might want to say to them, or even confront them, not physically, but we might want to express our displeasure to them in a particular way, not hurting anyone. But the sincerity of this man, the sacrifice of his life, the sacrifice of his family, not asking to be raised up, not asking to be worshipped, always encouraging us to be better, always taking the higher road, taking the higher path. How many times have we seen him suffer and be insulted because he did not want someone else to suffer? I'm going to end with this, Brother Willie, and thank you for having me. I'm going to end with this. Keith Ellison, Attorney General of Minnesota. Now, Mr. Ellison is a politician. He was something before that, state, whatever he was. At one point, he had some association with the nation. I'll let him say whatever that was. But then when he was trying to be, he wanted to be a few years ago chairman of the Democratic National Committee. And as a result of that, some of his enemies started raising up questions about the minister and his Keith Ellison's association. Keith Ellison then started to attack the minister. So naturally, when Keith Ellison attacked the minister, I attacked him. And by Allah's grace, the enemy's media even picked up my defense of the minister. So I was very happy with that. And I had, so that was the first one. I had another one, Brother Willie, all ready to go. And I submitted it to the minister. And he asked me, well, brother, basically, is there anything new that you really have here? Did you get them good the first time? I said, yes, sir, Brother Minister. So the minister said, okay, well, brother, just let it go. What kind of man is that? That's unjustly attacked and still has enough heart for this other black man who is acting as an enemy to give him mercy and to say to me, his editor, let him go. Brother, that's sincerity. That's love. That is what drives this man. There are no two different versions of Minister Farrakhan. There's only one. What you see is what you get. And it is totally immersed in a deep level of sincerity and love for our people, for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and for Allah.
Brother, beautiful, 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 man. All of your responses in how you ended with that one, that really, you think about that, because most of us ain't trying to bow down or go light on somebody that attacks us and look at the heart of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Brother Naba'a, we thank you, my brother, and whatever that we can do to help you in your effort to help the minister and help ourselves and our people, don't hesitate to let me know and those of us here at NNV May Allah continue to bless you, my brother. And we look forward to you, as we talked about, inshallah, that I get the chance to see you in the near future, man. Thank you, and we really appreciate what you shared with us today.
Brother, thank you. May Allah bless you and NNV to keep doing the great work that you're doing. And let's see if we can find better ways to collaborate going forward. Thank you.
Yes, sir. We'll talk about that. Walaikum salam. And for those who are on, we thank all of you all who are in the comment section for your comments and even for your questions. Please take this link, share it. You can find it on YouTube, share it to get more people to hear this powerful testimony by our brother today. He really laid it out, and I really love the responses from how he came to the nation, working with the minister, all of the stuff. You heard it for yourself. But we thank you for tuning in. And this is your brother Willie Muhammad, and we'll now be signing out. Peace.
Go home and study. See, many of you don't study your religion. And you think you're going to attain something without study. But if you believe in something, you need to study it so you can become proficient in what you do. Now watch this.
God came to us to seek and to save that which was lost. He raised a man from among us.
He, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, laid the foundation. What I'm doing is something that comes from him through me, and the thing that he uses in me to do the work is my faith in him and the word that he taught. To produce men and women who wanted to clean up their life and build an independent nation for the glory of God.